Is blindness a barrier? No.
Is deafness a barrier? No.
Are mobility, learning, cognitive disabilities, speech impairments and others, or even a combination of them, barriers? No way. Lack of accessibility is.
Welcome to Web Accessibility for All.
Follow the blind. This journey starts now.
Hi there, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of Web Accessibility for All, the weekly podcast where we cover accessibility, the web, and everything in between. I am Ariel, your host, and this is the third part of our 4-part series on accessibility testing. Today we are diving into the exciting world of integration testing with accessibility in mind. I get it. Integration testing can seem daunting, but it's crucial for ensure accessible experiences for everyone. When we include accessibility checks in our integration tests, we are not just testing functionality, we are checking for accessibility at every step. Because accessibility issues often arise when components interact, and that's what makes integration testing so important.
Integration testing? Sounds like a headache. Do we really need it?
Integration testing, an overview.
Let me tell you something about integration testing. Long time ago, in the early days of software development, integration was often a manual process. Developers would manually combine components and test their interactions, relying primarily on their intuition and expertise. This approach was time-consuming and prone to errors, especially as systems grew in complexity. Fast forward today, integration testing became a core component of agile development because agile methodologies emphasize iterative development, continuous testing, and early detection of defects. This led to the adoption of continuous integration practices.
So, it's like making sure your Lego set doesn't fall apart when you pick it up.
Exactly. Integration testing is all about ensuring that components play nicely together. To put it in simple words, if unit tests are the building blocks, integration tests make sure those blocks fit together seamlessly.
All right, but what's different from the unit tests we already set up?
Let's step away from our project for a moment. The best choice for your specific project will depend on factors such as the complexity of your application, your team's preferences, and the testing goals. It's often a good practice to combine different testing approaches to ensure comprehensive coverage. So, returning to our project, there are different solutions we could use here. However, we are still using Jest, the React testing library, and Axe Core because they are just fine for integration testing too. But now, instead of testing our components in isolation, we are testing how they work together. This means more complex scenarios and, naturally, more chances to catch those pesky accessibility issues. Alright, enough talking. Let's get into some code. we are going to check how our search form and search results components work together. We'll see if the form submits and the results displays as expected. And, of course, we'll be running accessibility checks before and after the interaction.
Setting up the test.
Let's briefly review how our app is structured. A search form component that includes the form, a search results component that displays search results, and the app component, which is the parent of those two. Hence, makes sense to test the app component to check how all of these three components work together. Alright then, let's create a new file called app.test.js and save it into a new folder called integration inside our tests folder in our project root. First, add the necessary imports.
Import React from React. Import render, fire event, screen from @testing library /react. Import @testing library /jest.dom. Import ax, to have no violations from Jest ax. Import app from ./app.
Writing the test.
Now let's dive into the actual test.
Test, app integrates form submission and result display, and has no accessibility violations, async, equals greater.
Mock the fetch API to simulate an API call and return a predictable response.
Const mock fetch equals jest.fn, equals greater. Promise.resolve. JSON, equals greater promise.resolve, name, test user, email, test email.
Assign the mocked function to the global fetch, so all fetch calls use it.
Global.fetch equals mock fetch.
Render the app component.
Const container equals render, less app/greater.
Now run ax accessibility check on the initial render state before any user interaction.
Let ax results equals await ax container.
Ensure that there are no accessibility violations in the initial state.
Expect ax results to have no violations.
Select the search input field using its label.
Const search input equals screen.get by label text /search for users /I.
Select the search button.
Const search button equals screen.get by text /search/I.
Now simulate a user typing text into the search input.
Fire event.change, search input, target, value, test.
Simulate a user clicking the search button.
Fire event.click, search button.
Wait for the search results appear in the document.
Const result item equals await screen.find by text /test name /I. Expect result item to be in the document. Expect screen.get by text /test email /I to be in the document.
Now run another ax accessibility check after user interaction.
Ax results equals await ax container.
And ensure that there are no accessibility violations after interaction.
Expect ax results to have no violations.
Look at that. We've addressed all the issues to make sure everything is working together like a dream.
It sure is, but we are not stopping there. You see, Axe Core gives us more than just violations. It also returns arrays like incomplete, inapplicable, and passes. These can give you a deeper understanding of your app's accessibility state.
How do we access those?
Good catch. Let's take a look. Here's how you can log these arrays to the console.
Console.log, violations, axresults.violations. Console.log, incomplete, axresults.incomplete. Console.log, inapplicable, axresults.inapplicable. Console.log, passes, axresults.passes.
So we're not just looking at what's broken, but also what's working and what doesn't apply. Nice.
Exactly. And this is where AxScore really shines. It gives a comprehensive view, allowing you to address issues that might otherwise slip through the cracks.
Handling edge cases.
Let's push this further by considering an edge case. What happens when no search results were found? Let's make sure we are not leaving any stone unturned. So let's add another test to handle the case where no results are found. Well, most of the code is pretty similar to the first test.
Test, app shows no results message when search returns no results, async, equals greater. Const mock fetch equals jest.fn, equals greater. Promise.resolve. JSON, equals greater promise.resolve. Global.fetch equals mock fetch. Const container equals render, less app slash greater. Let ax results equals await ax, container. Expect, ax results, dot to have no violations.
Simulate user searching for a non-existent user.
Fire event.change, screen.get by label text, slash search for users, slash I, target, value, non-existent. Fire event.click, screen.get by text, slash search slash I.
Check that the appropriate no results message is displayed.
Const no results message equals await screen.find by text, slash no results found slash I. Expect, no results message, dot to be in the document.
Run ax accessibility check after interaction.
Ax results equals await ax, container. Expect, ax results, dot to have no violations.
No results, no problem, we're still accessible.
That's right. This scenario checks that we are handling edge cases gracefully. Now, I want to share a bit more about AxScore.
Isn't AxScore just for finding violations?
It's much more than that. AxScore is like your Swiss Army knife, because beyond violations, it gives you insights into your app's overall accessibility state. You can configure it to catch issues specific to WCAG levels and versions, and even customize it based on your app's unique needs. Please refer to the previous episode of this series to find out how to do this. By the way, I'll share a link to the AxScore official documentation for you to take a look.
The more you know about your tools, the better you can use them.
Okay, but how do we actually run these tests?
Well, let's make sure you have a script defined in your package.json file to run these tests.
Quote scripts quote colon, left brace. Quote test colon integration quote jest quote. Right brace.
Now, from the command line, you can run
npm run test colon integration.
And what should I expect to see in the console?
When you run the tests, Jest will output a summary of the test results. You'll see something like
Pass tests/integration/app.test.js. Check app integrates form submission and result display, and has no accessibility violations, 100 milliseconds. Check app shows no results message when search returns no results, 80 milliseconds.
If there are any accessibility violations, Jest will print them out in a clear, readable format. And as I mentioned before, Jest returns an object with multiple arrays besides just violations. You can inspect this for more insights.
Wow, there's so much more data to look at.
Exactly. More data means more power to make your app accessible.
Wrapping up.
And there you have it, an in-depth look on how to perform integration testing with accessibility in mind. Please remember, this is not an integration testing tutorial. If you are looking for a full guide on integration testing, many free resources are available online. This episode is all about how to incorporate accessibility checks into your integration tests.
So, what's next? I'm ready for more.
I'm glad you asked. In your next and last episode of this series, we'll explore end-to-end accessibility testing. It is the last piece of this puzzle, and you won't want to miss it. So, stay tuned. Don't forget to check out the full code of this episode in the GitHub repo. The link to it is in this episode description. Thank you so much for listening. Feel free to subscribe to this podcast and send all your questions, suggestions, and comments right away. In the meanwhile, let's keep making the web a better place for everyone. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. Subscribe for a new challenge next week. And don't be shy. Leave us a review or ask your accessibility questions online. See you next week for another episode of Web Accessibility for All.